name is Sadie.
And I'm Molly. We're sisters and we live in Conrock, Virginia, which is on the border of Washington and Smyth County.
We are here to tell you about the music traditions of people who have lived in Washington County and Smyth County for hundreds of years.
You may not have heard of it before, but these two counties are known for traditional Appalachian music, which is part of the culture.
Culture means the way of life, a group of people. A society's culture is what makes it special and different from other civilizations.
Different parts of culture include the language we speak, type of government, beliefs, the food we eat, and music.
Have you ever heard of old-time, bluegrass, country, gospel, or folk music?
Those are the types of music that are part of our culture. You are going to learn about legendary musicians from our area and also about people who play this music today, like us. We are going to start with Washington County. You probably live in this county if you are from Abingdon, Bristol, Meadowview, Mendota, Glade Springs, Damascus, Hyder's Gap, or Conrock. There are lots of other small communities too. Washington County was first settled by Europeans over 250 years ago, around the year 1750. Before then, there were Cherokee and Shawnee Native Americans who hunted here. The European people who settled in Washington County were mainly from Ireland, Scotland, and Germany. There were several battles between the Europeans and Native Americans over the land in the 1770s. There was also a big battle during the American Revolution where the Mountain Men defeated the British during the Battle of Kings Mountain. After the Civil War, the railroad in Washington County helped build back the economy.
Smyth County was created from parts of Washington and Wythe counties in 1832. You live in Smyth County if you live in Marion, Chehowee, Sugar Grove, Bodford, Adkins, Grosse Close, 7 Mile Ford, Adwolf, and a number of other communities. These areas have a history of farming and lumber, including tobacco and dairy. Route 11 and Interstate 81 have helped the areas not be so isolated as some other areas in southwest Virginia. These roads follow the old paths that Native Americans and the first settlers used to travel, called the Warrior's Path and the Great Valley Road.
Before 1900, there were no TVs, internet, or cars, and most people worked hard on their farms, and children only left home for school and church. Entertainment for everyone was music, dancing, and storytelling. Most of the people who lived in Washington and Smyth County were the European settlers who were mostly Scottish, Irish, or German. Throughout the years, the Scottish-Irish Celtic music mixed with European ballads and the banjo music of African-American slaves. Later on, instruments like guitar and mandolin were introduced. These settlers played music for square dancing and flat-footing. Today, this mountain music is still played by many and is called old-time music.
In 1900, the radio was invented and people slowly began to get them into their homes. With the radio, music began to record. There were many field recorders from faraway places who would come to this area to record the old-time musicians and singers. In 1927, something very famous happened in Washington County in the city of Bristol called the Bristol Sessions.
The Bristol Sessions was a traveling recording studio that set up on State Street in Bristol. A man named Ralph Peer was behind it. He chose Bristol because it was the largest urban area in the 1920s, even bigger than Asheville, North Carolina. He also thought that Southwest Virginia had some of the most preserved music that was still being played, the same as it was before the Civil War. Ralph Peer had new microphones that recorded better music than anything that had been recorded all over the United States at the time. He paid the performers $50 per song, which was a lot of money back then.
The Carter family first recorded here, as did the other famous musicians and singers such as Jimmie Rodgers. This is why Bristol is called the birthplace of country music. The Carter family was from nearby Scott County and played and sang mountain music and gospel songs. Johnny Cash later married June Carter of this family. Old-time string bands and ballads, gospel, blues, and comedy music were all recorded during the Bristol Sessions.
Jimmie Rodgers with Frankie and Johnny.
Frankie and Johnny was sweethearts. Oh Lord, how they did love. So to be true to each other, true as the stars above.
In 1928, Ralph Peer decided to do more recording and called it the Bristol Sessions of 1928. During these sessions, the Smyth County Ramblers Band was made famous. A few years later, they played for the president's wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, at the White Top Folk Festival in 1933. Members of this band were Jack Pierce, Carl Cruz, Jack Reedy, and Malcolm Worley. They were from places like Marion and Damascus. Many of the performers from 1927 and 1928 Bristol sessions went on the road for Ralph Peer to play in other cities such as Johnson City, Tennessee, and Atlanta, Georgia.
My name is Ticklish Reuben, way from down over mine. Everything seems ticklish to me.
At the same time as the Bristol sessions, radio stations began to be formed. WOPI in Bristol was first aired in 1929. This station played mountain music and had many live performers on the show. In the 1930s and 40s, bluegrass music was beginning to become popular. Bluegrass is different from old time as it has more harmony singing and different ways of playing the instruments that comes from a mix of old time, gospel blues, jazz, and other music. In 1946, WOPI radio changed to WCYB, and it expanded its broadcasting to Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, West Virginia, and Kentucky. It had a special show called Farm and Fun Time, and many famous bluegrass acts got their start there by playing live on the radio, including the Stanley Brothers, Flatt and Scruggs, the Osborne Brothers, the Blue Sky Boys, Mac Wiseman, Carl Story, and Jim and Jesse.
F-I-S-K Fisk.
Thrift Supply Company, who says you can rely on Fisk without risk, brings you those Tennessee Hilltoppers.
Highways are happy ways.
Kelly King and the Tennessee Hilltoppers also played often on WCYB. Curly was from the Virginia side of Bristol. He got his start on WOPI radio in the 1930s. The band combined string band music, western swing, and Hawaiian lap steel.
Another famous musician was recorded in the 1940s was Hobart Smyth from the Smyth County area of Saltville. The Library of Congress recorded him. He was mainly an old-time banjo player, but he was also played fiddle, guitar, piano, harmonica, accordion, and organ, just to name a few. He believed that his family ballad singing traditions dated back 7 generations to when they immigrated from England. Both of his grandfathers played the fiddle, and his mother and father both played the banjo. As you can see, mountain music is often a family tradition. Hobart also learned how to play some fiddle from Jim Spencer, who was an African-American fellow who lodged at his family's house.
Early one morning, the showers and rain around the curve come a time for training all riding. If the bump's gonna bend the rail, ain't nobody try to tell.
Now I'm in jail, a prisoner am I, but God is here with me and hears every vow.
Hobart played with many other famous musicians, including his sister, Texas Gladden, who was a ballad singer, sharing in their family's traditions. He and Texas played at the White House in the 1930s after the First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt, saw them at the White Top Folk Festival.
More famous and historical musicians in Smyth County were J.B. Litton and the Virginia Haymakers, who played string band music in the New River, Jack Burchett, a banjo player.
Also from Smyth County was Spencer Moore, who only recently passed away. Spencer was a singer and musician who knew many old songs. He served in World War II and got to meet President Eisenhower. The president liked his music so much that he gave him a Gibson guitar, but it got stolen later on. He later played for 2 other presidents of the United States at the Smithsonian and the Lincoln Theater in Washington, D.C.
life is gloomy, and the roses never fade.
There are many churches in Washington and Smyth County where people learn to sing hymns and gospel music. One of the most famous gospel groups to come from this area is the Chestnut Grove Quartet from Brumpley Gap in Washington County. They sing song a cappella, which means with no music and style similar to shape note singing. The Chestnut Grove Quartet influenced many famous singers and musicians such as Ricky Skaggs, Ralph Stanley, and Doyle Lawson. They had a show every Sunday in Abingdon on the radio that started in the mid-1950s. They were together until the 1980s. Today there are hundreds of musicians and singers who play and sing the same style of old-time bluegrass, gospel, and country music that were made famous by the early legendary musicians you have just learned about. These musicians are carrying on a unique cultural tradition that is very important to the history of this area. And it isn't just for adults. Lots of kids play and sing too.
It's a long way from here to over yonder, and my feet are getting mighty sore. I ain't coming back and making my wonder. No, my walk shoes don't fit me anymore. My walk shoes don't fit me anymore. My walk shoes don't fit me anymore. Stay on the side of town.
You can hear this music played at lots of places around where you live. Almost every day of the week there are jam sessions, such as the Smyth County Jam every Monday night in Chilhowie at the Lions Club. The Hartwood Otterson Center in Abingdon has lots of live music too. In Bristol, the Picking Porch also has music every week. Our dad plays music and comes from a musical family. His great-great-great-grandpa played on and passed it down through the Yates family.
Our mom plays and sings too, and we learn music from them.
From the birthplace of country music to the high mountains around Conorock and the hills of Rich Valley, we are proud that our home has something as special as traditional mountain music.
And you should be proud too. Thanks for watching.
Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Bound by wild desire, I fell into ring of fire. I fell into a